Hey, we're on the same time. Now we should be on the same page. Look how I did that. John chapter 9. What's your number? Mine is 976.
895.
895. We're so close.
905.
Not what?
2246.
Oh my goodness. I need a Bible as big as yours is. What, did you say 20? 575. What was that number again? 2200?
I like
Woo.
the big book.
Yours is a study Bible, and it's whose again?
Tyndale.
Tyndale, that's right. Yeah, that's a big one.
Big price.
Mine's on a screen. Is that what you said, Tom? Mine's on a screen. Mine's on the endless scrolling screen. I think it was Kindle that. Do you guys have the Kindle app on your phone? They tried to make it endless scrolling, and people hated it, and so they switched. But now you can turn it back on, I think. But it's so hard. Like there's something so satisfying about flipping a page, isn't there?
Yeah, but I can't see it.
I know. I like my Kindle. When you're out doing anything, I love my Kindle. I have 2 of them actually, because I kind of forget them all the time. All right, let's get started. We got a long text to read. All right, let's do this. Everybody warm up a little bit. Deep breath. All right, here we go. As he went along, let me stop us there. No, I'm just kidding. He saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Neither this man nor his parents sinned, said Jesus, but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. As long as it is day, we must do the works of him who sent me. Night is coming when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world. And after saying this, he spit on the ground, made some mud with the saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. Go, he told him, wash in the pool of Siloam. This word means sent. So the man went and washed and came home seeing. His neighbors and those who had formerly seen him begging asked, Isn't this the same man who used to sit and beg? Some claimed that he was. Others said, No, he only looks like him. But he himself insisted, I am the man. How then were your eyes open? They asked. He replied, The man that they called Jesus made some mud and put it on my eyes. He told me to go to Siloam and wash. So I went and washed, and then I could see. Where is this man? They asked him. I don't know, he said. They brought to the Pharisees the man who had been blind. Now the day on which Jesus had made the mud and opened the man's eyes was a Sabbath. Therefore the Pharisees also asked him how he had received his sight. He put mud on my eyes, the man replied, and I washed, and now I see. Some of the Pharisees said, This man is not from God, for he does not keep the Sabbath. But the others asked, How can a sinner perform such signs? So they were divided. Then they turned again to the blind man. What have you to say about him? It was your eyes he opened. The man replied, He is a prophet. They still did not believe that he had been blind and had received his sight until they sent for the man's parents. Is this your son? They asked. Is this the one you say was born blind? How is it that now he can see? It's a funny text. It's supposed to be. We know he is our son, the parents answered, and we know that he was born blind. But how he can see now or who opened his eyes, we don't know. Ask him. He is of age. He will speak for himself. His parents said this because they were afraid of the Jewish leaders who already had decided that anyone who acknowledged that Jesus was the Messiah would be put out of the synagogue. That's why his parents said, He is of age, ask him. A second time, they summoned the man who had been born blind. Give glory to God by telling the truth, they said. We know this man is a sinner. He replied, Whether he is a sinner or not, I don't know. The one thing I do know, I was blind, but now I see. Then they asked him, What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes? And he answered, I have told you already, and you did not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you want to become his disciples too? At this, they hurled insults at him and said, You are this fellow's disciple. We are disciples of Moses. We know that God spoke to Moses, but as for this fellow, we don't even know where he comes from. And the man answered, Now that is remarkable. You do not know where he comes from, yet he opened my eyes. We know that God does not listen to sinners. He listens to the godly person who does his will. Who's doing the teaching here? Nobody has ever heard of opening the eyes of a man born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing. To this they replied, you were steeped in sin at birth. How dare you lecture us? And they threw him out. Jesus heard that they had thrown him out. And when he found him, he said, do you believe in the Son of Man? Who is he, sir? The man asked. Tell me, so that I may believe in him. And Jesus said, you have now seen him. In fact, he is the one speaking with you. Then the man said, Lord, I believe. And he did what? Worshipped him. And Jesus said, for judgment I have come into this world. We don't quote that one very often, do we? For judgment I have come into this world, so that the blind will see, and those who see will become blind. Some Pharisees who were with him heard him say this and asked, what? Are we blind too? And Jesus said, if you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin. But now that you claim you can see, your guilt remains. Woo! Ouch! I think there's a few things. There's a few things we need to be careful of in this text. This whole section is like, we're probably in just one extended period of temple teaching. Okay? Remember, the only thing that breaks it up is the story of the adulteress, the woman caught in adultery, right? And it says at the end of it, they all went home. But like, if you pull that out as our early manuscripts, don't have that in. We've talked about this. I'm not going to go back to it, okay? Like, what you have instead is this whole block of Jesus in temple interactions, right? And even, this is the other part I want us to remember, we're covering chapter 9, and we're kind of concluding with, Jesus said, if you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin, but now that you claim you can see, your guilt remains. Okay, then what's next? Well, actually, he just continues. If you just scribble out the 10 in your Bible, I have a Bible where my Old Testament teacher was adamant, like, get rid of your headings, get rid of your chapter numbers, get rid of your verse numbers. Like, just get all that's added, and it just gets in the way sometimes. It's good, and we need it, like, to find reference and right. But like, if you do that here and you scribble out that 10 and you scribble out, mine says the good shepherd and his sheep, right? Like, oh, we have this whole new dialogue. You get into this. If you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin, but now that you claim you can see, your guilt remains. And we go, see, boom. But actually, no, he says, truly, truly, I tell you, Pharisees, anyone who does not, okay, do you see it? Like, the sheep, the good shepherd teaching that we're going to get into next week is still in the direct conversation of the man who was healed, blind. It's not a separate, he's not now going into a good shepherd narrative. He's interacting with the Pharisees who are his disciples, it appears, okay, who are asking him this question. Okay, and we'll get into that next week more. But let's get into our text. What do you guys have? Anything you want to talk about from this passage?
Well, your explanation where you said that give glory to God is, you need to speak the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And in that same thing, it said, he's a sinner.
Yeah.
And I found that was like, oh, okay, so you claim that I'm a sinner. How do you know that I?
Right.
Yeah, and I wrote in your notes, how do they know he's a sinner?
Right. Yeah,
It's an
they don't.
assumption.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's just the assumption, right? There is some question about, like, who are they claiming is a sinner? Are they claiming the man born blind is a sinner? They put that together, but it seems like the claim is not the man born blind is a sinner, but who's a sinner? Jesus. Genius. And they think he's a sinner. Why?
Because
Sabbath one. What's the other one? That was the big one. It just happened.
he was working.
Working on Sabbath. Yeah, that's one of them. But
Claiming he's the Son of Man.
remember, before Abraham was, ego and me. I am. And at this, they picked up stones to kill him. Are you with me? But he hid himself among the temple. Right? That's the ending of 8. Right? I get myself confused. But I think it's the ending of 8. Okay? And right? Like, so, I think at this point, they're dead. The Pharisees, the teachers of the law, they're dead set Jesus as a sinner. He's not only a Sabbath breaker, but he's a blasphemer. Right? And so that's part of the narrative irony of the whole text, right? It's like they're trying to like make Jesus a sinner, trying to find these reasons that Jesus is a sinner, when what's Jesus doing? Healing people who were born blind, right? Like,
Well, he throws it right back at them.
yeah, yeah,
They're the blind.
yeah. He's almost at the point of just like done in interactions with the Jewish leaders, right? From here on out, we get these massive, I got to really think through, but I'm pretty 10, like, I'll just say kind of, he's kind of like done with the debate, right? I talked about this before. You can't out vomit a vulture, right? Like, this is where Jesus hits. Like, if I am dead set, I've done this too much in my ministry, I will not spend the rest of my ministry debating with people over piddly, nothingnesses of legalistic interpretation of Scripture. I'm just done with it. It's a waste of time. Jesus didn't do it.
Isn't that kind of what's been going on in our culture too?
Yes.
You focus on the minutiae so that
It's exhausting.
ignore real truth,
Yes.
and it's really aggravating.
I would say to the neglect of loving our neighbors. Like, we sit at home and watch our pick your news station and get furious at whatever politician's making whatever statement, and we don't know the name of our neighbors, we don't help them, we don't take care of them, like, with base level, like, so this is our self-righteousness. This is our self-righteousness. Yeah, I think so.
I'm really disappointed in the parents.
I'm so disappointed in the parents.
Absolutely.
I don't know, he's of age, ask him.
But it just shows just how much grip the Pharisees, I guess, had on these folks. They were
Yeah.
concerned about being thrown out.
Good. What else does it show? If this is an important part, it's an important part of this text, because there's some deep teaching in Matthew, Mark, and Luke that John doesn't include, but this is the reference to it. I'm gonna see if you guys can get there. I saw a Facebook post the other day, that said, Jesus, oh man, I need to make sure I get this right. Jesus doesn't divide families, he strengthens them. Anybody seen that one going wrong? What would Jesus say about that quote?
He came to divide families.
It literally says, like,
Mother against daughter,
Yeah.
father against son.
yeah. So I get the sentiment of the post.
Yeah.
For all people, if your whole family is believers in Christ, yes, Jesus should be the bond that like strengthens. And if your family is divided because of piddly fights over doctrine or right, like, then yes, that's not the kind of division Jesus is looking for.
Define what family is.
Yeah, that's part of it.
It unites your family
Yep,
and divides your family.
that's right. So think about all the questions in this text. All right, what kind of questions do we get in this text? Because the whole text starts with a question. What's the first question? Who sinned? And who asks it?
His disciples.
His disciples, the followers of Jesus. They're walking through the temple together, and they ask Jesus, who sinned? Right? That this man was born blind. Isn't it interesting? They're not like, hey, Jesus, look, here's a blind person, you should heal him. Right? What do they want to know?
Who sinned?
Who sinned? Who sinned? Right? You guys want to talk about sin? What's the answer? Who sinned? Who sinned that this man was born blind?
No one.
Who cares?
No one.
Or no one.
The disciples are looking for blame.
Good. Neither. Jesus says neither. I think we need a better. Who sinned that a tornado touched down in downtown St. Louis?
We all.
We all. When we talk about sin, we tend to like, this is my understanding. Take it as what you will. I think it's biblical. I think it's well formed. I've spent a lot of time wrestling with it. This is very much simplifying a very complex issue. Are you with me? Okay. We tend to think of like me, okay? And I sinned, right? And because I sinned, bad things happen, right? And surely there are times in my life where I sin, okay? Me sin. And bad things happen. Everybody with me? And so that's the question they're asking him is what caused, but they're looking at it backwards, right? So they see the bad thing that happened to the young man, that whatever age he is now, I don't know, but from birth he was born blind, right? So obviously something bad has happened, which means somebody has sinned. Okay? All right? And so like this, we correlate these things. I remember, I'm going to talk about this in the sermon a little bit, but I remember like when Katrina hit New Orleans, like I remember like loud evangelical voices, Christian voices saying what? Well, they deserve, like this was an unrepentant city. This is Nineveh. The great irony of it being Nineveh, using that language to describe Nineveh, which does what? Repents to accuse the self-righteousness of Jonah. Right? Jonah. The whole point of the text is, the real sinner in that text is Jonah. Right? But anyway, okay, so, but like you get these narratives. But then I think also what our culture has done, they like, okay, well, our Christian culture is like, okay, well, all right, so yeah, I reject that. I reject that I sin and bad things happen. But we're still left with these two things, right? Do bad things happen? Okay. And do I sin? Yes. Okay, now secular society just says what? There's really no sin, and bad things just happen because why?
Satan's well and alive.
No, this is secular, non-Christian voice, okay? They would say there's really no bad things. There's just things. This is all just an evolutionary process. That's life, right? It gets to it's like in the middle of COVID when all the signs started popping up everywhere that said, things will get better. It's like, what? That's humanism, right? Like, all we know is that things will get better, okay? Which I thought was so, there's no basis for why things will get better, right? Like, as Christians, we have to believe there's basis. Okay, but I'm getting a sidetrack. But so, like, as Christians, we, like, reject this, but then we don't have a good thing for, like, this category, right? So I think one of the things is, like, we get to this point where we, like, feel like we are capable or have to, like, manage all of this in this way that keeps these bad things from happening. Are you with me? And so we don't directly, we're not like, yeah, you sinned and that bad thing happened to you. Well, unless we're talking about like poverty. Talk about like homelessness, people on the street, right? I hear Christians all the time that would never say, oh, a tornado hit in downtown St. Louis because of sin. But very much will say, yeah, that person begging on the street, well, you know, they made their choices in life. Are you with me? And here's why. Our view of sin is, I talked about this in the sermon last week, our view of sin is too small. It's too small, okay? I sin, but sin is not, there is not a direct correlation between my, wow, every time my phone goes off, it's gonna, notification's gonna buzz the whole, there is no direct correlation between my sin and bad things happening. Except sometimes there is, right? It's bad things. It's like, this is the consequence of my sin, right?
It's also a good teaching tool for parents is what.
Yeah, it's consequence-based. Yeah, it's consequence-based, right? Like, there's sometimes, okay, so why is it that sometimes bad things happen because of my sin, but other times, I sin and not necessarily bad things happen? And so then we come up with, we don't use this, but this is how we think about it. We come up with like a sin scale. Right? Like this is low in sin. like, oh, these are kind of some of the bad sins, right? I mean, these are sins that, yeah, they're not great. Like, I did this thing, and but these are the worst sins. Are you with me? And those somewhere, we're not really sure where it is. For other people, it's like up or low down here, but for us, it's up here. But somewhere on this scale, it shifts. We hit this point of the trajectory of our sin, and then the bad things happen. Oh, I pushed too far. Are you with me? Okay, but it's just not. It's not the biblical view of sin. This is the biblical view of sin, I think. Okay, sin, evil, destruction. Everyone, John 8, right? Everyone who sins is a slave to sin. Anyone who sins, no matter what trajectory is that, anyone who sins. Sin is this like chaotic force in the world. Are you with me? It's spiraling like a tornado, like a hurricane. I think it's interesting that most of the forces of destruction in the world are chaotic spirals. I don't know what that is, but and my sin contributes to that. But it goes in this spiral. Are you with me? Of chaos that is sin in the world. And because I'm too close, because I've sinned, what happens to me? I get sucked into the spiral of sin. Are you with me? And sometimes this goes around and it shoots back and it whacks me. I decide the other woman down the street is prettier and I'm going to sleep with her instead of my wife. Guess what happens? I deal with the consequences. That sin comes back and smacks me. But there's other times. This is for me, I get going on this. Ecologically, we sin. We don't care for the good creation God gave us to care for. And we don't feel that impact directly. But it spirals around and hits someone else. Are you with me? Okay, and so this to me is like, what do we need? How do I get myself out of this? Can you save yourself from a tornado? Have you guys seen like any of the videos of people like that got like in the tornado from Friday? It's crazy. I mean, beat up bad. I mean, of course people died, and you need what? Rescued. You need rescued from sin. We need to be rescued from sin. So then we ask the question, like, right? So when they asked Jesus, who sinned that this man was born blind? His answer is, none of them sinned that this man was born blind. But this man's born blind because there's sin in the world. Because we've all sinned. Everybody following me here? Does this help? This helps me a lot. Thoughts, concerns?
Jesus said, when they asked that question, Jesus' response was, neither this man nor his parents
Yep.
sinned.
Yep.
That wasn't a direct cause.
That's right.
This happened so that the works of
Good,
God
good.
might be displayed in
Isn't that a crazy text? So, this is like the conclusion of my sermon, but oh well, we always do it in here anyway first. So what is it? So this has happened so that the works of God may be known in his life. Okay. So what is the work of God?
miracle, healing.
I don't think so.
Redemption.
It's what?
Redemption.
It's redemption. It's his salvation. At the end, we've seen this throughout. What's the work of God throughout the Gospel of John? What's the work of God?
Dwelling.
Bel-
Indwelling of the Spirit.
Yeah, but it's specifically what? Believing in Jesus, remember? We've had this recurring theme already. What is it to do the work of God? To believe in the one who was sent. Are you with me? And so in the statement, in the opening statement, neither of this man, his condition was this way so that God's work may be done in him. I have taught this as the work is that Jesus is going to heal him. Okay, so he was born blind that he might be healed. I'm wrong. I was wrong. The work of God in his life is that he will come to believe. He will come to believe in him.
Because of the result of the work.
That's right. But why this is an important nuance is because for how many who are not healed in this world, right? And this is where John is getting to. This is the mud and the spit, I think. Nobody's asked me about this yet, so does anybody want to talk about the mud? The spittle and the mud? Yeah. What's your thoughts? I'm going to ask you all of your thoughts, and then I'm going to tell you why it's all wrong, and I'm going to tell you what the answer is. So should we just skip the whole...
Why don't we skip that? Just tell us.
Okay, let me give you... Yeah, so theme of water is one. Theme of water and Jesus as the living water, right? Like coming out. I think there's a little bit of that. I actually don't think that's as much underlying this. One is this was a like standard medicinal practice in the ancient Near East, Greco-Roman and Jewish. Okay, it was common to like make. It still is. Like if you go to what's the I'm close. Help me. Like herbal medicine. Apothecary. Like if you do there's lots of like making, okay. And let's remember, where are you going to get moisture at in a Middle Eastern town? Right? Like you're going to have to go to a pool or to a well or something to get that, right? It's not like he has a bottle, like a plastic bottle of water on hand that he's, okay, so the wetness is coming from, come on, man. I got 3 kids. I always made fun of it. Like you lick your fingers and I do it all the time. All the time. We're walking into Walmart the other day, you know, my daughter, it's always ice cream or donuts on her face, my youngest. And I'm like, what? So what do? Just lick, right? Okay, and so he reaches down, he makes a mud and he places it on them. But I think the significance, and I didn't get any commentaries on this, so maybe I should write it up. Maybe I'm wrong. Jesus has not directly performed any sign yet. Do you remember this? Remember all the signs, he has, like, it's been a faith activity of the person responding. Okay, like remember the very opening sign is what? Water to wine. Okay, and how is that a faith, right? Remember he just yeah. Actually, it's her, right, that says, do whatever he tells you to do. And then they go and bring it up. And Jesus is kind of like in the background. Remember even like the man who's healed on the Sabbath, right? Like he just says to him, he doesn't pick him up. He just says to him, what? Get up, take up your mat and walk, right? And the man has to do what? Get up, take the mat and walk, okay? So I think this is a pervasive theme in John, that Jesus is not the one. Like Jesus isn't going over and laying the hand. I think this is important. He doesn't, are you okay if I use you as a, he doesn't, I've started asking. I got in trouble one time, a lot of trouble, phone calls that week. He takes, are you sure? Because I'm about to use spit and mud in your eyes.
Whatever.
I'm not. But Jesus doesn't just come over. He can, right? I don't see any reason why he can't. He doesn't just come over and boom, and now you see, right? Instead, he gets down in the dirt. Some say this is the remaking of Adam. This is Genesis 2 language, right? He's taking of the dust. I think I'm okay with that. Like, I don't think that's what John is teaching us about Jesus. But he takes some spittle. It's spittle, right? Like he's just trying to find something clean. And he puts it on the eyes. But is the man healed?
No.
He's not healed. What's he got to do? It's possible, depending on where they're at in the temple, that him sending them to the pool is a long ways and might mean that he's breaking the Sabbath.
Well, the other thing is that.
But we don't know that for certain.
That's downhill, and it's not an easy walk
No.
to get there from where he was.
No, and he's blind.
That's what I thought about. Yeah, just go over to the pool, Siloam.
Yeah, wash it. Yeah. It's a.
Have him lead you. I mean, great. Yes.
And is it really Jesus' act that heals him, or is it the man's faith in Jesus that heals him?
Yes.
Or is it God?
Right? Dixie said, is it really Jesus' act that heals him, or is it the man's faith in God that heals him? Okay, and I think the answer is yes. Right? And it's the work of God. Right? Because this is where we got to be careful too. Because in the same way that we treat our sin as this sliding scale, we treat another thing as a sliding scale too. Our faith. And why would I do them all capitalized until the H? And somewhere, some of us have this scale, they're kind of a newbie believer, or they've been going to church a long time, but I don't know they really trust. We're really good at telling where other people are at on this scale.
Is it like there's no atheists in foxholes?
Yeah, there's no atheism in Fox, right? But if getting healed by God, like physical healing, oh boy, that's way up here. Going to Bible study, that's like middle. You guys are doing good. You made it to here on your faith scale. A lot of trust. I'm proud of you. If you guys keep working hard and you keep trusting and you keep doing more and more faith, you might eventually make it up to the healing level.
But that's good works.
That's right. It's not faith. That's not trust. And not only that, but we've already seen this relationship with healing in the Gospel of John. Healing points to faith, right? Now, is it Mary? Either Mary or Martha, that conversation, we're about to see this like huge, this is reciprocal. This is a cycle, one of John's viral cycles, I call them. Viral spirals, I call them. Like where he rotates, but like faith and healing. Are you with me? Is everybody following this? And it's the opposite, right? Like this isn't like some faith achievement scale. It's trust in Jesus. It's trust in Jesus. It's trust in Jesus when you ask him to heal you, and he does. It's trust in Jesus, like Paul, when you ask him to heal you 3 times and he doesn't. They're both what? Trust. Belief. That's why trust is such a good translation of that word. It's just such a good translation of faith. Faith has all these like other connotations to them. Okay, where were we? What were we talking about? So the man has to go, right? The man has to go and do this trust activity. So that's one. That's on the one hand, I think, what's happening. The second thing is beautiful, wonderful literature. John is an artist. It's just beautiful because you need Jesus to come as a surprise revelation to the man. So if he heals, boom, and then the eyes open, and the first person you see is who? Jesus. Guess what? Jesus can't show up later to the man born blind. He didn't know what he looks like. I've said this before. There's no iPads running around. There's no Facebook profiles. There's no church directories. Are you with me? There's no pictures of him running around. Jesus performs the sign, and the whole rest of the time, remember, there's all this conversation is, who is he? Well, he's Jesus. Are you with me? But he didn't know. He does not. He literally cannot pick him out of a crowd. And what's the irony of that?
The Pharisees asking who did it.
Yeah, part of it's the Pharisees asking who did it, but he's still what? Blind. He still can't see Jesus. He still can't recognize Jesus. It isn't until Jesus, at the whole end of the narrative, after everybody debates who can see or not, it's that then Jesus goes and finds him, and Jesus asks him, right? Do you believe in the Son of Man? Do you what? Believe in the Son of Man. And he says, come on, what's he say? Who is he? Who is he? Why? Because he's blind. He's still blind.
Blind up to that point.
Yeah.
But now he sees Jesus, but he doesn't recognize it because he didn't see
That's
him
right.
before.
That's right. But he's ready. He's now receptive. And he's ready. And Jesus says, the one speaking to you is he. And the man says, I believe.
His eyes are
But
open.
didn't, people who are missing this sense have greater other senses. So I
Yeah.
would believe that he knew his voice,
Mm-hmm.
that he recognized that,
His voice. Mhm.
He's like, okay, and then
Yeah.
when he says that, he says, yeah, I believe.
Yeah.
He knew that.
I've heard somebody preach on this of like he recognized his voice as a sermon thing. I think it's a good sermon. I don't think it's what John's trying to teach.
Well, the thing I was saying is that when he's talking to him,
Yeah.
I think he's first like, maybe
I know this. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then he says, well, who's the Son of Man?
Yeah.
He says, you see him.
And how's the questioning of Jesus different, right? This is the other part of it. The whole narrative is these questions. The whole narrative is all these questions. Who is a sinner? Okay, and Jesus gives the answer, right? And then he heals him, and then the man starts getting called in for questioning. And who's the teachers of the law, the Pharisees, are asking the man born blind about
Jesus.
Jesus. And the great irony is what?
He's never seen
He didn't know anything. He's never seen him. He can't, yeah, he just knows his name, right? In the sermon, I'll talk about the movement of discipleship that takes place in this text. I have something else I want us to talk about. But we'll do it right now because it's a good place for it. Yeah, go ahead. Questions. I'm going fast.
You see him now. He doesn't say, I am he.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he doesn't, does he? He says,
No, he
yeah,
doesn't.
you're right. I am he is like earlier in that.
It's like,
Yeah, he says,
because he does sometimes talk like that.
yeah, you have now seen him. In fact, like, there's no doubt, right? Like,
Yeah.
you, in fact, now do what? See him. See him. So when does the man born blind actually come to sight? All the way at the end, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's at the end.
When his eyes are open to see.
That's right. When he sees Jesus is when he can fully see. See, the Pharisee, and that, all you got to do is stop there, and then the next part that everybody thinks is so confusing makes total sense. Right? Because they all claim to see, but can they see? No, because they don't recognize Jesus. You can't see till you recognize
Ties
Jesus.
back to what you said last week at the end of the sermon, that that's
Yep.
our sin,
Yeah, that's right.
is failure to see Jesus.
Yep. Failure to recognize Jesus. That's what we need to, man, yeah.
Isn't that what sin is? Failure to recognize God and Jesus. You know, we think that we know better. I mean, when you were talking about the sin, and that sin is not recognizing, not following, not
Yep.
believing, not trusting
Yep.
in who God is and what He's doing.
Yep. Sin is not this list of,
Don't do this, don't do that, don't do something else.
this list of, I'm not going to share this story, but like, I think this is so built into us that I want us to have freedom from it. Because we still think about sin as this like list of things that we do wrong. Instead of this force that we're a part of and we partake in. But that all stems from what? Trusting Jesus. Seeing Jesus. Recognizing Jesus. When we, like I just know, I've been with Christians who've been Christians their whole life. And like, I can't say to them, that was a sinful thing you did. But when I watch them act and interact with people on a day-to-day basis, I'm like, the way you just treated that waitress was sinful. It's sinful, right? The way you talked about that person who disagreed with you politically, that's sin. That's not Jesus' heart. It's a force. We don't just need to get it right or like make sure we figure it out and fix it and then God will love us. Like He wants to rescue us from that slavery. Whoa.
He gave us the Holy Spirit to live within us.
That's right. Yeah, we're getting there. Yeah.
So that we can,
Yeah.
do we always listen to it? No.
No,
But
right.
It's more, I guess it seems more prevalent and.
I think it's like ask this. I find people ask this question. They're like, can you ever go? Like, how can you go? How long can you go without sinning? Right? And that's the false dichotomy, right? Because like you can live in relationship with Christ. You can live in relationship with Christ. In a trusting, knowing relationship with Christ. I don't know. I get going on this. All right. But this,
Pick on the parents again.
yeah, I love picking on parents.
No, you pointed out something that I had not thought about, is one of the consequences of sin is shame. Your parents
Yeah.
were, they caught up in this erroneous, I didn't even know there was a name for it, but I'm not surprised, Deuteronomic reality,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Which also shackled them in the,
That's right.
in the pit of shame.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that if that happened to one of our boys who were born blind, I'd be asking these questions.
Yeah. I wanted Sue to be here because of her daughter and deaf, and we talked a lot about on Wednesday, like she has a really, you should ask her about it. She will share her very heartfelt story. That's good. I wanted her to share some of that today, but this is the only time she's gone. She's never gone. She's here every Sunday, of course. And she's like, I know.
Grandbaby.
I know, she's with that grandbaby, which is where she needs to be. Yeah, but the shame. But here's the other thing that I caught just this morning, so I don't know if it'll make the sermon or not. The parents also are not courageous enough to make a decision either way.
Right.
They're agnostic. They're lukewarm. They get spit out. Like, they could have freedom from the shame. They're still wrestling with that own question. They could choose that freedom. They're not courageous enough to do it. Okay, and then they don't even want to wrestle with the question in and of themselves. I'll kick that over to somebody else. To the point where they kick it over to who? Their own son. Their own son.
He did a good job himself.
He did. I love this dude in this text. I mean, he's the hero. He's supposed to, even more than But he is here. I think he is. I think John's portraying. I think there's one key element of that. Man, I have other stuff I want to talk to you guys about, but fine.
Talk fast.
Okay, I'm going to go really fast. In I got to find the right text. What did you? Where did it go? He says in here. Let me pull up my. Sorry. Let me pull. Oh, here, I've got it right here. I'll pull it up. In 9:9, that can't be right. Oh yeah, in 9:9, his neighbors and those who had formerly seen him begging asked, "Isn't this the same man who used to sit and beg?" Some claimed that he was. Others said, "No, he only looks like him." But he himself insisted, "Ego eimi." I am. It's the same phrase. It's exactly the same phrase Jesus has just said about Abraham. Before Abraham was, "Ego eimi." I am he. I mean, it's like, usually that's an okay statement. Like, that's just a standard, like, you can say that statement. And if it wasn't literally, okay, that's in verse 58, 1. If it wasn't 10 verses, like, we're in the same conversation. Usually I'd be like, I think you're overreading it, but I don't think so. I think you're supposed to, like, see this man, his relationship with Jesus makes him like the hero of belief in this story. Right? Like, I don't mean hero like he's the one that saves. Maybe that's bad language. But like, he's the main actor. Like, he's the one we're supposed to relate to him in this text.
So are you kind of saying that he heard that previous conversation? Because Jesus was
Maybe.
teaching in the temple. I mean, it all flows.
I think this is a literary technique. Okay, I don't think this is like let's think about the man saying. I think John is giving us this like wink, wink, nod, nod. There's a couple articles have been written that actually contend that throughout this text, this man is showing Jesus things, like he's doing Jesus things. Okay, so like his family rejects him, right? That's Jesus, right? They don't know where he comes from. The man born blind, they don't, like, it's the same questions. Where are you from? Like, right? All these same narratives of Jesus. I don't know. I'm unconvinced by the articles. I think it's interesting. But I do think in this, like, statement, you are supposed to relate to the man born blind in this text. Like, you get the choice. The Pharisees are debating over, oh, here it is. This is the word that means to know. And this is a key word in this text, okay? In 9, 1, 12, 20, 21, 21, 24, 25, 25, 29, 29, 30, and 31. Pharisees, the teachers of the law, are debating is what they know. What they know. And they're sitting around debating what they know to the neglect of pisteuo, belief, of what they believe, what is believed, what is trusted, right? And I think it's easy. One of the sins of church-going people is that we debate over that which we know, right? To the neglect of trust, faith, actual Jesus faith. And so the hero in the story isn't concerned about what I know. He says all the time, I don't know. Right? He's like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. This is what I know. What do I know?
I was blind, I see.
All right. How do we interact with people who don't believe in God, who don't believe in Jesus? I think we feel like all the time we have to give them all the answers to everything. Right? We don't always. Sometimes we just say, I don't know. I know this. My marriage was a disaster, but Jesus saved me. I was headed for ruin and destruction, and Jesus saved me. I was blind, but now I see. Like, he's telling that story the whole rest of his life. Right? Yeah, Barb. No, I got to get us out of here.
When they say, I know, they also know that he's a sinner.
Yeah.
So the word know, you don't know and.
No, that's right. They're so confident about what they're wrong about. Why are we so confident about that which we are so often wrong about?
It's-
Right?
The word know is.
Yeah.
I take that with a grain of salt.
I know. All right, let's wrap up. Goodbye, Facebook. Or YouTube. Okay. Yeah, questions.